CrossFit to weightlifting. Just like anybody has, I had a increase in performance. I started treating everything like a weightlifter, training like a weightlifter. Had a couple programs, got a buddy to coach me, and yeah, over the past 4 years, you start to see a lot of the same changes. You start to see those milestones tick off. You know, first there's the first 100 kilo snatch, then there's the next big milestone of a 135 kilo or a 300 pound clean and jerk. Every single time you kind of hit these milestones, your squat numbers go up, your deadlift numbers go up, your competition lifts start to increase. You start to see them continue to increase. For me, it was, you know, that first year, saw that 100 kilo snatch about a year into kind of that switch. Saw the first 135 kilo clean and jerk, and next 6 months, 8 months, then okay, there's 105, there's 110 on the snatch, then there's 140, okay, now 145, 150 on a clean and jerk. Got up to the point where it's like, okay, jerk 160 from the rack, clean 160 from the floor, snatch 120 from the floor. And that's kind of, I think, where everything started to go downhill. And now I jumped straight into weightlifting, lifting like the guys you see on Instagram, lifting like what you see on social media and Facebook and YouTube, heavy lifts. You don't see a whole lot of accessory work. You don't see a whole lot of people doing the excess stuff that they need to do. People don't show that as much, and so I didn't do a whole lot of that. I stuck to a lot of pure lifts. First time that I really ever had a big red flag was probably about a year and a half ago, and doing a max out session on a clean and jerk. Was running the Squat Every Day program by Travis Mash. Somebody had passed that along onto me, and that had been something I ran and had seen some success with. My squat numbers would go up, and doing a max clean and jerk on one of those days, I think it was week 4, that 5th day, 6th day, something like that, and standing up out of the bottom of the hole with a 160 kilo clean, I felt like somebody pulled my hip flexor, kind of strung it like they were finger picking a guitar. And I think that was probably the first time that I realized that something wasn't right. Kind of went back to the drawing board, started throwing a little bit more bodybuilding work, a little bit more accessory work. Recently, I thought everything was okay. About 6 months ago, started getting some pain in my right knee. Probably about September, so probably a little bit longer than 6 months at this point. Started seeing a lot of pain in my right knee. Then started to notice a good bit of atrophy in my right quad, and ended up now physical therapy, told that my lumbar spine L2 to L4 is essentially locked up in a locked position, largely due to the strength of my left quad and left glute from my jerk leg, and also just some hip shifts when I squat. My lower back is kind of in a big mess per se. And realizing, I was listening to a podcast, I think it was Anders Varner and Teresa Larson talking about unilateral work. They kind of presented an interesting scenario of what your accessory work looks like, what the physical capacities of doing that unilateral work, how beneficial that is. I think for me, not having done all that accessory work, not having done all of the work necessary to keep my body healthy, is kind of taken a toll and put me in a situation where I'm not really reaching my potential. It has caused a lot of issues. My goal is to kind of document a process, of which I'm going to squat to a max the first week, test out where my current maxes are. And then for the next 8 weeks, I'm not going to do any major strength exercises on both feet. So I'm calling this unilateral everything. Still going to be doing the classic snatch, clean, and jerk. Probably not as high of intensity, and probably doing a little bit more variation as to the type of cleans and snatches that I'll be using. A lot lighter percentages, more just technical focus. So my goal is to do the following. And so instead of squatting, I'll be doing some Bulgarian split squat, some regular split squat, some reverse lunging, and all of those kind of mix up between a front rack and a back rack, so front squat position versus a back squat position. Doing some form of unilateral deadlifting, which is going to be a little interesting for me because that's not something I've really done a whole lot of. But actually doing a lot of strength work, so hanging out in the rep ranges of 3 to 6, possibly even 1 to 6, and really challenging and pushing some of those weights that you can use on those lifts. And essentially I want to go 8 to 12 weeks and not going to touch a back squat, not going to touch a front squat or a deadlift. I'm going to test all of those movements along with a shoulder press. I really want to see what it's going to be like and what effect it'll have on weightlifting performance to do a completely unilateral program and a unilateral strength focus for a good amount of time. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing a little bit of a almost little vlog on the unilateral everything and what that process is going to look like, filming sets and reps, and kind of recapping at the end of each week what kind of progress is going on and how I feel like it's going.